Watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Die.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of Trap or Die Podcast, post-game edition. I'm your host, Mual, and here with the fellas, man. Jerry's in the building. AJ's on the way and joining us on this late night edition. I guess we're getting our preseason warm-ups too. I don't know how many primetime games we got, Jerry, and Double A. But we got one little workout in for a preseason game, man. We're gonna see how this thing go. Washington loses, doesn't matter what the score is. We got a couple things to talk about. Not 1,000 things to talk about. It's not a real game, but let's check in with the guests right quick. Anthony, man, is joining us for this postseason, or I said this postseason, this preseason edition of the post game recap. How you feeling, big dog? Appreciate you joining us.
Man, I'm all right, man. We got the Madden downloaded and everything, and y'all had me up. Yeah, I'm up a little tired. I can't lie, but got the game rocking. So I can't.
Anthony, it sounds like you trying to get to the Madden. That's what it sounds. You ain't trying to go to bed. You want to play Madden.
Hey, you need to add my EA ID, bro. You know what I'm saying?
I'm end up laying it down, man. But I do need to get. I gotta see how I can play on this thing, man. It's been a minute, so we're gonna see how I ride.
So you saying, Anthony, you ain't played the college football yet? Because that should have got you ready for the Madden.
I've been playing it for a little bit. I've been playing the college. I've been enjoying that, man, with my people, man, getting that back in. And it's been, 10 years, 11 years since that college been out?
Bro.
Yeah, bro. So,
but look, if you got any leagues, bro, you know what I'm saying? Any Madden leagues, 48 hours, something like that. I don't need no 24 hours. I don't need that bullshit, bro.
Man, we can we gotta have 48 hours.
Right. Hey, I ain't gonna lie. I played in a couple leagues and they be like, hey, man, we play. It's like, hold on, I'll be on in 15 minutes. I'm like, 15 minutes? Y'all ain't got no responsibilities, nothing else going on. Y'all ready to rock.
That ain't working for me no more, man. When I was in college, cool. But I'm out of college. I'm out of college, 6 years now? Can't do it. Can't do it, won't do it. Okay. What's going on, AJ? AJ's just checking in for those who are listening. What's going on with you, player?
Not much, man. Just en route back home. That's it. So I won't be on camera.
Okay, all good.
Safe
all
travels,
good.
Man.
Hey, appreciate it.
So let's just tap into like an overarching theme for the game. Did we learn anything today I want to kick it off to AA on one thing. As long as we touch on Jayden Daniels, because you made some comments just from a receiver's perspective when Terry caught his curl route from Jayden Daniels. But I just want to give you the floor first on anything that we learned today. But I also want to make sure that you do touch on some of those aspects that you saw from Jayden too.
Yeah, man. I could tell you just the big thing I was watching for coming into this game was what's up with receiver number 2? Who's going to be that other guy opposite Terry? And I think we have our answer. I think you know who it is. What is it? What does UPS say? What can Brown do for you? I think you got your number 2 with Diami Brown. And I think the reason is he showed that he has the ability to win. Yes, it wasn't against Jalen, but it was against Kendall Fuller. But he showed he can win on other routes other than going deep. And so if you're going to be on the field and they know that you're a deep route, you're a deep threat, and then you're able to run other routes, that gives you so much more usability. So I feel like Diami's probably, put a strong hold on that position.
And as far as I do think that's interesting. Because that's more of a declaration. It seems like at this point, given we got like another week left, right?
Yeah, not a lot of time, not a lot of time left to make some noise. You know what I mean? So it's like if you haven't made your noise yet, man, I feel like Diami coming in 2 weeks straight, starting, getting to make some plays out there. I think he's got that spot.
Well, before we even swing to Jayden, then let's talk about like this dynamic at receiver. Zacchaeus is one person who I first off, I actually think it's interesting that people are kind of relegating him to slot. Not to say that he isn't going to be their slot receiver, but I think that I'm not too sure that people, and it is what it is, but he can play both outside and inside. Like he's not relegated to just playing the slot position. But I say that to say Jahan Dotson is a person who's obviously been a hot topic over the past week and some change. What do you kind of make of his situation going into today? And was there something that kind of on his end that kind of solidified it for Diami as number 2, or is it just something that just worked out the way it worked out?
Man, I think it's just, obviously not being able to be at practice, but it just feels like there just hasn't been enough. You have to bring some sort of a spark. And like I said, I mentioned being able to be the deep threat coming into the draft. What were the 2 things that this team needed at receiver? They needed size and they needed speed. They went with speed with McCaffrey, but he's a little bit more of a project. And I think they've realized that. I feel like they get in there and they're like, okay, so he's a good player, but we got to teach him a lot. And he probably will catch on, year 2, year 3, maybe something with him. But right now, I think when they came in and they realized they probably need a little bit more work at that position than they expected. So, Diami's making some plays, getting a good rapport with Jayden. And that's how you get yourself in the building, right? The quarterback likes you. You're going to give yourself an opportunity. I'm not certain, man. I'm not certain what's up, what's going on with Jahan. I was out there excited for him to make some plays and hoping he was going to do something and really make a splash tonight. He had a catch or 2. He was out there early with the ones, but it was after Diami. You know what I mean? So is he still in play to be on the team? I think so, unless they just start to get creative and, make some trades later on. But I think it's an uphill battle now to beat the 2.
And I was going to chime in on that, on Jahan's situation, in the sense that, being a Jahan fan since he came out the draft, Jahan actually made some comments this week that slightly concerned me. I mean, it was transparent and as honest as possible, which is a good thing. But it also concerned me in the sense that he kind of admitted he's not where he needs to be confidence-wise, and that's kind of worrying to me because you got to wonder what's in his head, what's going on. Like, I mean, he even acknowledged that Dan Quinn didn't draft me. So, I got to go out here and prove myself. But then on the other token, though, to me, this could be a blessing in disguise for Jahan. Maybe the slot position, if he can slide into that slot position, if Diami is the number 2 guy, maybe that's where Jahan is best suited in the NFL, because we know that he has issues, getting off the line of scrimmage, breaking the press coverage. So maybe the slot is more suited for his abilities So, I mean, that's for him. But as far as Diami goes, I mean, I'm with Anthony. I mean, it looks like he is locking up the number 2 spot. I mean, not just because of what he's doing as far as winning different types of routes, because as we knew coming out of North Carolina, he was just strictly a go route type of guy. You know, he was a guy that's going to beat you over the top. But now he's showing different things. And we know with the wide receiver position, sometimes it takes some years for these guys to develop and become what they want to be. But the other thing with Diami is he is gaining that rapport with Jayden Daniels. I mean, through the first 2 preseason games, it looks like he's Jayden's favorite receiver to go to. Now, I don't know what this means going forward in the regular season if Diami's ready to break out. I mean, hopefully he is. I mean, you know, there's some talent there. But, you know, we do want to see this get put into motion. We do want to see someone kind of lock up that number 2 position. And if it's not Jahan, you hope that Jahan can kind of step up and be maybe he excels at the slot position. Maybe this is what gets his confidence going, because like I said, he admitted that his confidence is not where it needs to be, which was worrying to me because I don't know how soon that he can tap in to get that confidence that he needs to be the player that we hope that he can be. So that's the worrying thing. But again, this could be a blessing in disguise. At least we hope. I mean, this would be a great thing for Jahan. It'll be a great thing for us as well as a team. But then there's the other thing that I'm thinking that it's either he's going to excel there at the slot position, or it's a possibility that Jahan may not be on this opening day roster. And I don't mean that as a cut candidate. I mean, this could be a possible trade situation for him. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how this kind of plays out with that wide receiver group.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was very telling. Jahan didn't really play that many snaps tonight, especially in comparison to what happened last week when it was 32 snaps. You didn't really see him out there much. It almost makes me feel like they might have a trade looming for him. Sometimes certain players just need a change of scenery. That's not necessarily to say that Jahan Dotson can't be an efficient wide receiver in this league, but when you take a guy 16th overall and you got a wide receiver class with a Drake London, Jameson Williams, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, you know, you're expecting a bit more from that guy. You drafted him to kind of be that complement weapon with Terry. Even though this staff isn't the same, you still expected that to lead over to the next regime or whatever would happen over the years. And you're just not seeing that. And, you know, Diami Brown came out. I tweeted, this is the most catches he had in this game than all last year. So I think it's very concerning that Diami Brown is the number 2 for this team. If that is going to be the case.
Why is it concerning, though? Why you think it's concerning, though?
Because I feel like Diami is a very limited player. Like, I feel like he's a one-trick pony. And maybe it's looking a bit better because we know that what's his name? What's the damn offensive coordinator's name? Cliff Kingsbury. He's going to run a system where they're spreading out the wide receivers and getting them opportunities to be one-on-one. But at the same token, you still want more dynamic players. You want to force the defense to have to defend you a certain way. And I feel like Diami's not necessarily a threat. He's a fast. Well, I can't even say he's like a deep threat, right? He don't have your speed that you had back in the day.
Well, I mean that's high. That's a high standard to hold him to. But I mean, hell, he hit the Jets over. He hit the Jets over the head for 42 twice. You know, in practice and in the and in the game. And so when it comes to that deep threat stuff, it's number one, your quarterback saying, "I'm willing to throw this sucker deep." And number 2, it's having somebody who's going to go down there and get that thing. So you don't have to be 4-2 to be that deep threat. But I mean, you know, coming in, Diami was that deep threat, right? And
that was the thing.
One of the things that bugged me, at least when I speak about myself, like when I go into like the 2011 season, that I got relegated to being a deep threat guy only. And I didn't get to catch like hitches and curls and things that, you know, people are going to respect. Hey, my mama's in the stands. You're not about to catch a touchdown on me. You can catch this 12-yard hitch, or curl or anything like that, but please don't catch a bomb on me. That's how people think when they get into that regular season. So, you know, to see Cliff take advantage of that, like you can see a hitch and go get set up down the line, right? The way Brian Robinson was running the ball, Diami running some play action, cracking off the safety and then taking off deep. That's where that comes from. You didn't have that from anybody last season. You didn't have that from anybody. You expected it from a couple cats. You expected it from Jahan. Didn't really get it. But I kind of left last year up to the fact that, hey, The OC job didn't really work out. You had 60 some odd sacks, so you're always from working behind the sticks. You're getting kind of limited, but I think Diami can develop into it. Now, coming in, if you said coming into this season, Diami Brown's going to be your number 2, there'd be a little bit of trepidation. He'd be like, I don't know.
Would have thought you finished the whole bottle of Don Julio representative.
but can I say, AJ, for you, we're seeing Jayden gain some trust in Diami. I know you're not really high on Diami, but that's got to mean something that, your future, well, at least your face of the franchise at this point, your franchise QB, he's seeing something in Diami, and he's going to Diami at this point. That doesn't make you kind of feel like Diami's kind of coming along, AJ? What do you make of that?
You could see that he looks to be a bit more confident in himself, but still, as a player, from what I've seen, I'm not trusting that. I'm not buying into it.
I can understand
that. That's just me. If he ends up balling this year, hey, congratulations. He proved me wrong. I feel like he has the size to be a complete wide receiver in this league. I'm just not sure about everything off the field as far as work ethic and the things that I feel like he needs to do to sharpen his game as far as route running, like his route tree. But
He been
at
working.
the end of the day, if he proves me wrong, cool. But I'm just not personally sold as him being a number 2. Like, I feel like it will be a collection of wide receivers being used at this rate. Overall, Terry McLaurin is going to get to finally be featured and get to prove that he is like a top tier wide receiver in this league, because Jayden is going to put him in positions and give him that chance. Like you just mentioned, Dre, with Diami, Jayden's going to do that with Terry. The best thing Terry does on the field is the 50-50 ball, and he's going to get that shot. But I'm just not personally sold on Diami. I just think that we will see the running backs like Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler used heavily in the pass game. That might, help to play off with the fact that they might not have a true threat at the number 2.
Well, I'll say one thing. I don't think like it's a negative to not be sold on Diami yet, given that there's 3 seasons and like he has been an inconsistent player to this point, like throughout regular seasons. I don't think it's unfair. I also think that what's also important, what you all mentioned, Dre and Anthony, part of the difference with this year is understanding that Jayden is coming in from a clean slate. So is Cliff Kingsbury. They don't even care about what has been going on the last 3 years, even though we know like what we've seen. Whether you take the last 3 as a negative or like just something where like it just hasn't worked out for them, whatever it is, they are utilizing him how they think that he can work in their offense. But also Jayden is developing this level of trust where they can use him. And then the offseason part is something that I want to just bring to light because I found it, and maybe somebody else didn't find this either. But this is from Cody Carpenter, who is a reporter for Washington Watch. He was in Ashburn last week, and he mentioned that he had Diami Brown, or a comment that he caught from Diami Brown saying that he scored 500 footballs every day since February. And part of the problem with Diami, obviously, is how he handled passes at the catch point at sometimes. But at the end of the day, like 500 passes that you're catching every single day since February. And he made sure to mention Cody. He made sure to mention that Diami was adamant about the everyday part. Like, and so like he don't know him, and we don't know Diami to say that he's lying. But if you're adamant about one aspect of your training regimen in the offseason, you can only take them for your word at that point. So like if you see a difference in how somebody's coming to a game or to a practice after years past of like probably not taking something more as serious as they should, you should take that into account as well. I just want to transition because we've been on the receiver part for a while. We can go to the offense. Cliff Kingsbury, Anthony, you mentioned that too. This Brian Robinson mentioned like the fast pace, like the no huddle approach. He mentioned that in a couple quotes when he's been interviewed. What do we think about the starters this week? I'll be quick with my thoughts and I'll pass it to you all. I do think that the starters in and out in terms of the huddle, like the fast pace was something that they was working on for, obviously, like they said, for a long time now. It was something that Brian Robinson said that he featured, that they featured, that he liked. And I think that for the most part, you had a couple penalties from from Andrew Wiley that kind of blew the hot start for these guys, and obviously the missed field goal doesn't help from Riley Patterson. But I think Jayden, two of them. But Jayden Daniels made some quick decisions. He didn't hold the ball in that fast paced situation. But at the same time, he was getting the ball out quick. He was finding those isolated receivers on the boundary. And then even at one point on that second drive, he was able to hit John Bates over the middle. A lower pass, not inaccurate at all, but low enough to where John Bates can still go get it. But like just different areas of the field, he was hitting these guys. Obviously, Diami actually caught a pass on the screen this time. On one of those plays where like he had 3 on 1 drive on the opening drive. So and then I think the only off target pass actually was to Jahan Dotson on the sideline. But for the most part, he finished the day 10 for 12, 78 yards, nothing spectacular, but at the same time, a very solid outing from the starter. You didn't see that many pressures. They utilized his legs a couple times. Even when he got in trouble on the first read option keeper, he just got down, stayed out of trouble. But yeah, man, I thought it was a pretty impressive day for Jayden and the starters. Even Brian Robinson, I got to mention him. He was running hard.
Yeah, no, I mean, Marta, just to jump in, I mean, I agree. I mean, I thought Cliff Kingsbury was calling a pretty damn good game. I mean, it was just a certain mistakes. I mean, that's one of the things that kind of happens when you're doing those kind of like, you're just methodically moving down. You got to kind of, eliminate the mistakes. And Andrew Wiley did mess up a couple of those, but you got to love what they're doing with Jayden Daniels. They're getting the ball out of his hands pretty quickly. They're helping him make quick decisions. And I just think that's so helpful for a coach to kind of call those plays. And I think, Mual, you may have tweeted something about how they're taking advantage of those matchups on the outside, those one-on-one matchups on the outside. And Jayden Daniels is seeing that. He's seeing that pretty fast. I mean, we knew from LSU that Jayden Daniels processes fast, and we're seeing this up-tempo offense, and he just looks so poised and under control, kind of managing this offense. I mean, we didn't score any touchdowns, but I do feel like they wanted to get a better look at the kickers, or at least the kicker, Riley Patterson, in this situation, because he's been struggling. And I don't think that the kicker is on Washington's roster at this point. But I feel like in the regular season, you probably go for a couple of those fourth downs when you're in those down, in deep into opponent's territory where they were at. They're probably going for a couple of those, but you just got to love the pace that they're playing with, because we didn't really see the up-tempo look last week. But we got to see them play fast, and Jayden just never looked at any point like he was flustered out of control. He was controlling things. You even got to love how Brian Robinson was seeing his vision on the field today. I mean, even Austin Eckler, we got to see a little bit of a glimpse of what he can possibly provide to this team. Now, Andrew Wiley, man, he has to get it together. That's one of the guys on this team that's I think he had a year where fans noticed him last year. He wasn't one of the best offensive linemen. I mean, the offensive line in general wasn't a strong suit for the team, but he comes out in this game. He has a really rough game. He halted a couple of drives in this game.
So holding in the false start, I think.
Yes. So, those are two things. You probably get a touchdown on one of those drives if he isn't holding. I believe it was the second drive. So, I mean, it's one of those things you got to hope that, you eliminate some of those penalties. Now, I don't know how, what the plan is going forward, but we may have seen a glimpse of what they're going to do in the regular season as far as the tempo goes, but we didn't really see the big plays going. It was more so of we're going to methodically drive down the field, and they were successful at that. But again, if that's the approach you're going to take, you got to eliminate those little stupid penalties that you see Andrew Wiley's in the making. But otherwise, I like the tempo. I like what Cliff Kingsbury was doing. I even like the route combinations that we were doing. I kind of looked at, what Scott Turner was doing a couple of years ago, and I'm like, man, a lot of times you catch yourself saying, man, these guys are all in the same space, or, they're crowding each other when they're running these routes. But you see these routes that Cliff Kingsbury are calling, they're spaced out. You're getting guys in motion. You're getting guys, where they can run after the catch. I mean, even my favorite play, one of my favorite plays of the day, was Jayden Daniels, the pass to Terry McLaurin he had, was out to the sideline, and he puts it where Terry can catch it and Terry can run after the catch. So that's going to be something to watch this season, that Terry's going to be able to get a lot of yak this season, if Jayden Daniels is putting that ball placement where it needs to be. So we got a little bit of a glimpse of that, and to me, it was very encouraging watching this game offensively.
I'm good with what the offense did. Yeah, you want to finish those drives. You're right, Wiley kind of shot themselves in the foot, or stepped on your own left foot, however you want to say it. But it's pretty promising, I'd say, given the fact that you're still missing some guys that are on the offensive line. The one thing that I would say I told myself was like, man, I sure hope Brandon Coleman comes back and is like pretty solid. You know what I mean? Like I'm really hopeful like he comes back and he's just gonna hold down that left side because I don't want to have to deal with a whole bunch of pressure getting to the quarterback. Now, not like a lot happened to Jayden, but I think he was under control. I did tweet about his accuracy just on a hitch route outside, kind of out low and to the right to help Terry fade away and spin up for run after the catch. So I think that's going to be big. I think the offense is setting up things for how the game will progress later on. So you take the easy, methodical things now, make good decisions, and then eventually that defense is going to get aggressive, and those big shots will come later on. So no, I don't expect many big shots in preseason like that. So offense looked good, and I was feeling good about how Brian Robinson was running. Seeing him get 7, 8, 9 yards a carry rather than 2 and 3 yards. Very uplifting. And I mean, they found a good side to run behind Sam Cosmi and Tyler Biadasz. So do that often and early this year, and it'll make things a lot easier on offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think offensively, I like the flow of the play calling, the tempo, especially when they were gaining positive yards, weren't being halted by incomplete passes and stuff like that.
You good, AJ?
Can you guys hear me? Yeah. I also seen Cliff come out in a pistol like full house formation. I thought that was pretty interesting and dope. That kind of gives me insight of what we'll see from Jayden Daniels being in those situations. Probably even have Brian Robinson Jr. and Austin Eckler in the backfield together. Also allow him to keep the ball on some reads and just show that threat now as teams will start to prepare for them in the early weeks of the season, with that being Tampa. I want to say week 2 is the Giants, just to show like, hey, we still are going to allow Jayden to utilize his skill set, which is being able to run. I think today was pretty much a stepping stone for trying to make defenses that they'll face in the early portion feel off balance and not really be able to catch on to what they're doing, especially with the tempo. So I liked it. Andrew Wiley, you got to get rid of that dude. Like, you got to sit him down. Like, he could
Damn,
be,
bro, it's his first game back.
man, he could be a rotational piece somewhere else. Like, maybe put him at left guard. You feel me? But right tackle, I think you got guys that are better suited and more athletic than Wiley to play that right tackle position. I think that's what's hindering him. Sometimes his athleticism isn't kicking up enough, and he gets to holding or even some false starts because he's scared of getting beat. I think my major concern is we truly don't know still who is the starting offensive line, and they may never get a chance to play together collectively until week 1 going against that Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, which is pretty alarming to me.
Well, who's honestly, bro, I think so. We got Biadasz at center.
Yep,
You got Cosmi at right guard. You got
Maybe
Allegretti
Allegretti
at left guard. Odds are they starting. The way they lean in Brandon Coleman right now at left tackle. So I mean, I really don't.
You might see Cornelius
like,
Lucas.
I was about to say that. I was about to say that, Anthony. Cornelius Lucas could be battling Wiley for that right tackle spot.
Yeah,
one of them got to play that right tackle, Coleman or Lucas, somebody, because it can't be Wiley.
Yeah.
Coleman finna play left. They probably gonna do the swing tackle at right side if it ain't what's cuz name, if it ain't Wiley, bro. But I say that to say, like, I think they do have their starting lineup, bro. I think they got it.
And they'll have 2 weeks to prepare after the last preseason game. They have 2 weeks to kind of work and practice as a unit together. I mean, I don't know what Brandon Coleman's injury status is. I know he was day-to-day, week-to-week or something like that.
He was working out before the game today.
So, yeah, maybe he'll be back, but they'll have a couple of weeks to kind of work together. Even if they're not in a preseason game where they're playing limited snaps, they're going to be working together as a unit. So they'll get a little bit of time to kind of gel a little bit. So hopefully that'll be enough for the Tampa Bay game.
Anthony, before we get to the defense, one thing, bro. Have you ever been on any level, like on a up-tempo offense, Just generally, but like the question more so is like, what was your overall thoughts of like the productivity of the offense? What do you need to succeed, but also like what were some things that kind of you thought was like it got in the way of you all really succeeding?
Man, well, I was on a up tempo offense. Let me go. I go all the way back to college. We ran like the offense that Cliff Kingsbury used to run, the air raid. My coach went down there and studied that, and we remember it being no huddle and signals and things of that nature. When I left Washington and went back to Miami in 2012, they were running a signal no huddle. Zach Robinson, the head coach of Cincinnati, was out there giving out the hand signals. And anyways, it's a very fast paced thing, and it was tough because you had to just follow it by signals, and just me going from a playbook to going to that was a tough transition. The key is that you have to have a quarterback that, like Jayden, that's able to stay nice and steady and keep stacking good plays. If you're going to go no huddle, you can't go incompletion. You can't have a loss of yards. You have to keep moving the ball forward, and they were doing that. I mean, you could tell that if they got into series 3, 4, 5, that defense was going to get tired. Sure, it wasn't all the starters, but you can just tell that it's going to wear down on defenses. So I'm interested to see how it's going to work out for later on in the year. But staying on time and on tempo and making plays when you're going no huddle is key. And Jayden's good at that. And as a matter of fact, I spoke with a guy, and I'll have that episode upcoming soon. Guy down there in LSU, Blake Ruffino. He was talking about how Jayden, that virtual reality system that Jayden would be in, like they could load up other defenses' looks. Hey, give me a cover 2 look, give me this look, give me that look. So this dude will see the game before the game. He'll see everything the defense gives him before. Now I don't know if they can do pro level stuff on there, but the way that he prepares there, it's the same as he's been preparing here. I mean, this is probably the most impressive I've heard a rookie prepare, especially at quarterback, than I think I've ever heard of. I don't think anybody's ever prepared like this.
That's first off, I can't wait till the episode comes out, but that's incredible to hear. Let's get to the defense. This side of the ball is kind of different too, because you don't really see Deron and John Allen sitting out. Bobby Wagner, OG, he ain't playing right now. So you kind of got some people on your first 2 levels that's in and out of the mix. An edge rusher didn't play either. Besides Dante Fowler didn't play. But who was the other?
Did
Cleveland Farrell.
Armstrong
played. Cleveland Farrell was the one who sat out. So you had some people on that front 7 just didn't play. But what do we think about some of the? Let's kind of just pick apart some of these guys. Like Jamin Davis, he had a couple flash plays that I think was important for him. Given last week. Now he went up against Olu Fashanu, which is obviously one of the top 2 offensive tackles coming out of the draft. And he made him look like a little child. Made Jay look like a little child in terms of as a pass rusher. Jamin won a couple reps on the as a run defender. But today he had a couple wins, both in both facets of the game. Obviously got the strip sack. His first one as an edge rusher. Which is pretty good for him. The sideline was hype. That was good for him. I think this was a big step for him, just solidifying his spot on the roster. You all know I was actually I was questionable in terms of like what he can do for your team. If he can't provide no pass rush juice, and you already got some guys who can do what he's doing. But also he's changing his position late in his career. But I think for what the coaches want out of him, and knowing that he has some ways to go, I think this was a good step for him this week.
I love to see Jamin making plays. I think that he's one of those guys that whenever he's pin your ears back and just go play ball, he can play fast and be aggressive. So glad to see him being productive. I was glad Forbes didn't have a touchdown given up on him. Couldn't really see what else he did throughout the day. So like that's a good thing, right? Like he didn't necessarily get picked on. I was looking for him to bounce back. Interested.
Just Ben got picked on.
Yeah, St. Jude's got a little work. That's still going to be a unit that's going to be a weak point until until they do something about it. And they being either A, you bring in a vet, right? Yeah, Stephon Gilmore up there interviewing and meeting with the Minnesota Vikings. Somebody made a tweet like, hey, a vet like that doesn't just take a visit just to take a visit. So they must be serious. So, I mean, either A, you got to get on the horn with him, or you just going to say you're going to roll the dice with what you got. And hopefully when the rest of the defense is on the field, then you got a much better unit. But question mark still at corner. And still a couple question marks at safety too. Them little young dogs and Quan Martin and Mike Sanders still, they gonna cause some havoc for people. But there's still a couple of questions of what's gonna happen with the rest of that secondary for me.
You know, it's hilarious because last week it was Forbes. You know, Forbes was the guy that everyone ragged on, and then this week it's Ben St. Juste. And that just goes to show you how tough it is to be a cornerback in this league, because people only remember your last play. You know, if you gave up a touchdown like Ben St. Juste or Emmanuel Forbes, whoever they are, they can go out and shut a guy down the whole game. You give up one touchdown, you're the most trash cornerback that ever played the game. And that's Ben St. Juste this week. So that's a tough market. I mean, that's a tough position to be in.
You still got the floor, Dre? I just want to point out the fact that, first off, the noise has not been nowhere near as loud as it was last week.
100% right.
I just want to make sure when you make the comparison, we acknowledge 100% it was loud as shit last week.
No, anything Emmanuel, and you know it's funny because Emmanuel Forbes was getting a sideline interview. I can't remember the.
I was going to bring that up too.
Man, Emmanuel Forbes can eat a Popeye's chicken breast, and they gonna complain about him. I mean, that's just what it is.
I feel bad. I feel bad for the kid because, you know, he's getting asked that question. Like, he was asked this question in the interview, and he was like, "Man, you know, I try to ignore it." And he said, "I know I'm under a microscope." He said, "Everything I do, I'm under a microscope." He said, "But I just got to kind of block the noise out and ignore it and go out and play." So I see one of the comments. Someone said they didn't hear Forbes' name at all today. That's a good thing. If you're a cornerback and you don't hear his name, that's actually a good thing. That means he's doing something. He's not getting catches, or he's not allowing catches. He's not giving up big plays, and that's a small win for Forbes, and that's a good step in the right direction for him. But again, so we're talking about Ben St. Juste today. Ben St. Juste gave up the touchdown, but he wasn't the only one. There was a couple of guys out there, and I'm looking and I'm watching the game of these guys playing cornerback, and I'm like, none of these guys are really playing the ball. You know, they're not playing the ball. They're not getting their heads around, and they're getting beat. You know, and a lot of people, and I've seen some comments kind of ragging on the defense. Oh, man, we're going to have a bad defense again. But it's a really big deal when you're missing guys like John Allen, Daron Payne, Bobby Wagner, even Clelin Ferrell. I don't know what he's going to bring to this team because we haven't seen him here, but we know the guys that we've named as far as Allen, Payne, and Wagner. Those are big pieces in the defense, you know, because Allen and Payne, they're bringing the pressure up the middle, you know, and that helps the back end as well. But again, I do think that the question mark right now does lie in the secondary, and I think we thought that before the season started, or before the preseason even started, that this was going to be one of the question marks, because the question mark is, who are the starting corners? You know, who's the proven guys? I mean, we got Emmanuel Forbes, obviously, first-round pick last year. Didn't have the greatest rookie season. Then you got Mike Davis from San Diego. I mean, Mike Davis, he's been a solid corner throughout his career, but is he a bona fide corner? Is he a guy that's going to lock down CB1 or CB2? You know, then you got Ben St. Juste, who, you know, he's been iffy. You just don't know. So that's the question mark. And even the safeties, they're young. So, you know, you want to see something happen. But again, I'm always a proponent of the front seven helps those guys out a lot better. And I do think the front seven is much more improved than Washington. So we haven't seen the key guys play to kind of see if that's going to help those back end guys out a lot, or if that's even going to dictate what Dan Quinn and Joe Witt want to call as a defense. Like, how aggressive are these guys going to be on defense? Are they going to be sending 5 to 6 guys on blitzes? Like, we're obviously not going to know that or see that in preseason. So right now, yes, the concern is just the pure coverage standpoint of the cornerbacks, you know, or the safeties. You know, you mentioned Jamin Davis, you know, from the edge. I mean, that was a good play for him. He needs those type of plays. I mean, that's the type of stuff that's going to help Jamin, you know, progress and get him more snaps, you know, as far as he goes as the edge rusher. But I want to mention one guy. I mean, Mike Sanders still, man. I mean, the guy is just all around the ball. I mean, the first 2 games we've seen him play, the instincts just stand out. They're popping with Sanders still. You know, I mean, he's everywhere. And my favorite thing about him is he's not scared. He's willing to go out there and lay a hit on guys. And he's not the biggest dude in the world. I mean, Sanders still is like, what, 5'8", 5'9", maybe 5'10". I mean, I don't know. But either way, he's willing to go out there and lay his body on the line. He's willing to go out there and make plays. And I just can't wait to see him as the season progresses, see him kind of, you know, become one of those guys on the defense. So that's one of the guys I definitely just want to kind of highlight on that defense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Dre in some aspect in regards to the front seven. I don't think you can really judge any of these cornerbacks until that front seven is collectively out there. When you got two dominant interior pass rushers and run stoppers and a Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen out there, it changes the dynamic for everyone, including those guys on the outside at DN, the linebackers, everything. Um, the days of having a shutdown corner no longer exist in the NFL. I'm sorry to tell people that. So you are gonna have your corners getting caught on, whether that be a regular reception for 20, 30 yards or a touchdown. Like that's just the reality of it. Sometimes you're gonna get beat. Ben was in position, didn't play through the hands, and he got caught on. Like, some people said Forbes didn't play today. Well, that's good. His name didn't get mentioned. He didn't get harassed for the second week in a row by you guys that hate everything that he does, the air that he breathes. I don't think that anyone should be in panic mode about the cornerback position. Of course, it'd be lovely to get a Stephon Gilmore, who is a former Defensive Player of the Year at cornerback, but the reality is he's also in a situation in his career where he can pretty much choose where he wants to go and what type of environment he wants to be in. If he wants to be with a contender or if he wants to, join Dan Quinn again and Joe Witt Jr. And what they got going on. But I'm not really concerned about the cornerback room.
Hold on, bro.
What?
Bro. If we gonna sit here and say that we got issues with the receiver room, how on God's green earth are we gonna look at this cornerback position and not say the same thing?
Because you have two different dynamics. You talking about a defensive back room that was led by a high school coach. Like he don't know the NFL game in and out. So you got young guys, and you really you didn't have necessarily a vocal veteran presence in that cornerback room. Like Kendall was there, but Kendall's a very quiet person. He's not really speaking. So you're not really getting hands-on.
Who's your number one corner
on this team?
Yep.
Your number one corner is Ben St. Juice.
That's a question mark. That's a huge question mark.
It damn sure ain't Michael Davis.
Man, look.
I'm not even here because y'all know we fuck with Ben on this show, so it's nothing against him. I'm more so just speaking on the actual totality of the situation, bro. Like, think about it, bro. Like, if we talk about number one, Terry is a number one receiver or the number one receiver.
Yeah. If somebody were to make a trade and there were two positions they were trading for right now, receiver and cornerback would be two that you'd be perfectly fine with them making an addition for. I mean, just call it what it is. I mean, if you roll out week one, you got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and whomever else. Like, those are tough matchups. And what you've seen in the preseason so far makes you a little worried because Baker likes to throw that thing around. And I know you saying that the people up front missing those big dogs up front, but they ain't covering Mike Evans. You get what I'm saying? John Allen ain't got to cover Mike. I know that the pressure's gonna show up.
Yeah, it's gonna make the ball come out quicker, which allows those guys to play a bit differently. That's my whole thing. I don't really know. Of course, they don't have like a Patrick Surtain, a Derek Stingley Jr., or a Sauce Gardner. They don't have one of those. Like the whole secondary is up in the air. If we being completely honest, from the Quan Martins to the Jeremy Chins to the Defoes, the whole room is up in the air. Besides Sandstro at slot cornerback, but outside of that, everything is up in the air. I think it just boils down to continuing to receive the coaching from the guys that are now there, from the Jason Simmons, the Joe Witt Juniors, the William Gays, like that. You'll see it come into fruition during the season. But those guys got to shake off that bad juju from last year, from the coaching that they was receiving last year with that staff, and especially a guy like Emmanuel Forbes. You coming into your rookie year, and that's what you're being taught. You got to shake it off. So I don't know what's gonna happen with them overall at the cornerback position. But I mean, there's very few ways that you could fix it. Unless you're going to convince Stephon Gilmore to come here or Xavier Howard, how else do you fix it going into the season with a couple weeks being away from kickoff?
You ain't going to fix it right now. But here's the thing, and I'm going to say this right now. 2025 biggest priority going into 2025 offseason is going to be QB, a CB number one. It's going to be cornerback. I would not be shocked if that's your first round pick next year in the 2025 draft is your cornerback number one.
It's going to be Travis Hunter. You're going to have your cornerback and your wide receiver. Because those are the two main positions alongside tackle if Coleman isn't the answer. You got three positions now that are going to be the vocal point of your team. Hopefully you have the left tackle, but obviously there's a need at cornerback and wide receiver because you don't have a definitive answer. But, it is what it is. People keep saying Adam Peters can't fix it all in 1 year. Well, shit.
I think he's done a hell of a job, though. I mean, he went up in there with about $100, and he'd have made that $100 stretch. I mean, just you name it, he's made it stretch for what it's worth. And you're not gonna hit on everybody. That's the thing. Like, you're not gonna get everybody to hit, but I've said this before. I'm willing to trust this secondary coach and coaching staff because they've had success with lesser known DBs in the past. You go way back to the Legion of Boom. There was one first rounder on that secondary, and that was Earl Thomas. Everybody else was undrafted, 5th round. Sherman was a receiver at college and changed the DB. So, yes, maybe you're right, AJ. Maybe it is. You need to get some pressure up front with these down linemen and get a solid pass rush going, because maybe we haven't seen a full-fledged, Dan Quinn, Joe Witt defense and attacking. So maybe that is it. But I'm gonna let these guys do what they got to do. We'll figure out. It's good. It's got to be coaching with the way that they are playing or not playing the ball per se. And I that's one thing I'd have to get into a defensive meeting room to talk about, because I hate it myself. So you just sitting there looking and somebody just dropped the ball in real smooth. Like, I'm like, damn, you ain't even gonna stop it. But okay.
But see, even the play tonight, like, Ben is normally good at playing through the hands. For whatever reason, it didn't happen tonight. He's typically good in that situation. Now, we talking about intercepting the ball. That's a whole different thing. He's not a ball hog. But what I was going to ask, I guess even the people listening to us on the show, would you prefer to have a duo such as the Trayvon Diggs, Deron Bland, where they're giving up yards, but they're also flipping the field? Or would you rather... I don't even know. Would you rather your cornerbacks be like hella inconsistent overall and not flipping the field?
Give me the football.
Yeah. And I think that's what they want too. I don't think they necessarily want shutdown corners. They just want dudes that's gonna flip the field.
Yeah, Dan Quinn said it in his press conferences a while ago. He's like, "What are you looking for?" He's like, "I look for people how they play the deep ball, who can take the ball away, and guys who can tackle." Those are the three things that they're looking for, right? So, unfortunately, some of the reps we only get to see are on TV, right? When everybody else is watching, we're like, dang, he got work. But maybe they were kicking ass all week in practice, you know what I'm saying, when the cameras were off. Like, those may have been some really good reps. Unfortunately, they didn't make it to the game. But, yeah, give me the turnovers, because that's the one thing you got to think about. Trayvon Diggs has the most interception since 2020, I think it is, and then also has given up the most yards since 2020, and he got a big ass contract. So I think that you could, if he's gonna snag the ball 6, 7, 8, 9 times a year, yeah, you'll deal with some of those long passes as long as he makes that tackle. So give me the turnovers all day.
I'm in the same boat, plain and simple. I take the turnovers. I also think that I actually slightly disagree with AA's answer, in that I do think that they would want shut down corners, but yes, like, they prefer the people who they have their preferences. But I think, like, if they can have a bag, if they had their way, they can identify those guys. I do think that they would want those shut down corners. It would help if they can take the ball away, but yeah, I do think if they had their way, they get some of those shutdowns on their secondary. But yeah, plain and simple, give me turnovers.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the way. Look, one of my favorite cornerbacks that ever played for this team was D'Angelo Hall. And fans hated D'Angelo Hall when he was here because they felt like D'Angelo Hall gave up the big play a lot, but D'Angelo Hall also flipped the field a lot. So I was a fan of I'm more of the glass half full type of guy. I'm not the glass half empty. So I'm going to look at more of the good that you've done more than the bad that you've done. So if you can give me the flip in the field, I don't care if you give up those 15-yard passes here and there. And that's kind of what we're hoping that Emmanuel Forbes kind of be. And when we drafted Emmanuel Forbes, I mean, we knew that he wasn't the shutdown corner type. I mean, if you watched any tape from Mississippi State, you knew that Emmanuel Forbes wasn't the Sauce Gardner type, the guy that's going to, cover one half of the field or, however you want to exaggerate how a great cornerback plays. But we knew that Emmanuel Forbes has the ability to flip the field, at times. And if you can do that, that can change the whole momentum of a game. And we haven't seen that from Emmanuel Forbes yet. And that's why we're kind of down on Emmanuel Forbes, because right now we've seen more bad than good from Emmanuel Forbes. But if he can become that D'Angelo Hall type of cornerback, well, he's flipping the field, he's making the plays, he's giving the offense back the ball. As a fan, as a team, as a coach, player, whatever, you're happy because that's making big plays and that's changing momentum in games. And momentum in football is a really huge thing. So yes, give me the turnovers and I can live with the, inconsistency as far as, you're giving up a 15-yard pass. You may give up a touchdown here and there. But if you have that ability to go out there consistently to flip field position or give the ball back to your offense or possibly get the pick sixes, I'm taking that all day.
Anthony, let the people know where they can find you. Let the people know where they can hear from you. Let them know when that episode where LSU, man, what's his name again? Let them know when
Blake Ruffino. Blake Ruffino.
Yeah,
Blake Ruffino, man. He's on a couple of shows on the Believe Network. Yeah, man, dude been covering LSU. He's watched Joe Burrow's greatness. He's seen Jayden Daniels' greatness. He told me some stories about how, like, Jayden Daniels got a little like Kobe and Jordan to him. Like you ain't gonna see him on the sideline yelling and cuss you out, but I've locked the door to the meeting room type of dude, right? We supposed to be here at 8. It's 8:01. The door is already locked. Like, the kid's special. So check me out, man. Believe in Commanders podcast on all your favorite streaming platforms. I'm gonna get that episode. I thought I posted it. I'm learning how to do this stuff on my side rather than have somebody else do it. So I thought I posted it, but maybe I did. But either way,
you do. It's up there. It's up there now.
It's up there.
Yeah,
there it is. It didn't refresh on my side. Okay, so y'all check out that episode, man. It's some really interesting conversation, really good topics. Get to hear about that Top Golf experience and what went down over there at Top Golf a little bit too. So check me out, man. I'm committed to putting more content out there for y'all, man, and connecting with y'all this year. So let's do it.
Now about them film sessions, man.
Yes, sir. Man, I was ready to do the film session, and then the kids didn't take a nap, bro. I was sitting there like, cool. I'm about to get a double nap. I'm finna watch some tape, and they were like, we staying up, pops. So I'll have to watch the Miami game. I think it'll probably be out, maybe if not tomorrow, then Monday. So I'll get to watch it then and get to look at some good tape.
And don't feel bad. I can relate, brother. I got kids too, so I understand.
man, they don't ever do. They do what you want them to do sometimes, but when you need them to do something, that's when they change plans on you. So,
yes, sir.
All right, y'all. So that's gonna wrap it up for us on the post game show. We'll be back Tuesday. And then obviously, like you said, stay tapped in with Anthony and the Believe in Commanders podcast. He's doing a lot of good things over there. Obviously, he got a partner in crime too. But they do good things over there. So make sure y'all tap in with Believe in Commanders. That's gonna wrap it up for us. We'll be back on Tuesday. Y'all take it easy. Be safe. Peace.
Yes, sir.